Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today I'm down here at Swift Performance in Aylesbury because my G80 M3 competition had to be recovered from home. The reason it had to be recovered from home is because I actually wore through the rear brake pads completely. If you watch my recent video where I took my G80 out to Goodwood, took my parents out for some hot laps, in the afternoon of that session it decided to completely destroy the rear pads. The sensors came on and I had a quick check and there was literally nothing left. So I had to call it a day a little bit early and limp my way home. Prior to that track day, I'd actually reached out to EBC who had sent me some blue stuff pads that they've just freshly developed for the G80 and the G82. So I had the pads at the track day, but I couldn't change them because this car has an electric brake or an e-brake, an e-handbrake. And you essentially have to plug it into some software to release that brake and release the pistons in order to change the rear brake pad. So it's an absolute mission and not something that I anticipated when I arrived at Goodwood last week. So I had to get the car recovered to Swift. I actually accidentally found these guys a couple of months ago when I was seeing Jack at Royal Steering Wheels, who was fitting my Alcantara with the orange striped wheel to the G80. Russ, who runs this place, came over, introduced himself and asked me to pop over and have a look. I wandered over here and, well, I saw some of the cars that you're seeing now and was quite blown away. They do a number of stuff in here, but essentially a lot of track preparation. So wheel alignment, suspension stuff, brakes as they're doing in there today. And when you see some of the machinery that they have down here, well, you're pretty much guaranteed that they're going to do a very, very good job. I've actually spoken to a few friends since meeting Russ and Swift Performance, and I've heard all sorts of good things about them. So I'm really glad and excited to have my car down here. And Russ is actually currently in there at the moment, just cleaning up my front discs before he fits the new EBC blue stuff pads. I'm going to report on what they're like a bit further down the track because they need a bit of running in, and obviously my initial drive won't really give me much feedback until they're bedded in and until I'm used to them. But to make today's video a bit more exciting, well, Russ has thrown me the keys to his gorgeous M2 competition next to me here. So we'll have a quick walk around the outside of it and then take it for a quick drive on the roads around here. And when I come back, I should be lucky and the pads will be fitted to my car and the G80 will be back on the road and back in action. This car's actually got about 25 grand's worth of kit on it, and I'm not going to remember everything, but let's start from the front. So we've actually got a carbon bonnet, and underneath that, this car has a stage 2 tune. So you're looking at about 520, 530 horsepower. It has a full Akrapovic exhaust system. It has the 763M wheels, which I've obviously got on my M2, but they're gold on this. They look fantastic in gold, contrasting with the black. We've got the Michelin Pilot Sport Cup 2 tyres on it. We've also got a wing on the back that actually does something and is adjustable. It's not just there for show, because you know how much I'm really not the biggest fan of aesthetic only wings. In terms of suspension setup, well, it has a set of Bilstein Club Sports in there, some camber plates. You can see the negative camber around the front end. It also has bits and pieces from Team Sherma, like their kinematics. So it's set up really, really well. Now Russ likes to use this on the track, but he also likes it to be user-friendly on the road. So that's why we're taking out on the road. It'd be interesting to see what it's like. I've actually driven my M2 competition down here, so it'll be a real back-to-back test. And seeing as I'm looking for suspension setup, it's going to be really interesting to see what this is like. And when we jump inside, where it has pole positions in there, which is also what I'm looking at on my car. So it'd be interesting to see the comfort, the driving position, see if I've got enough headroom, etc. Before we start talking about my driving impressions, I have to say these seats are really comfortable and the driving position's really good. In fact, this is Russ's driving position and we do have a little bit of height difference between us. I like to sit very close to the wheel and it just suits me perfectly. I do feel like I'm sitting maybe 1.5 inches lower than in my M2 on the standard competition seats. So that's a good start, because I could run a helmet in here without too many issues, and that's what I need in my car. The only thing with the pole positions is they're probably made for the slightly smaller and slimmer frame. Not Joe after 4 or 5 lockdowns, but the back headrest as well is sitting a little bit low for my liking, but I suppose when you've got a helmet on, it doesn't get in the way, so that aspect of it is really good. This car's got a big sun visor on the windscreen, I guess you'd call it, which looks pretty cool on the outside. I'm not sure if I'm sold on it in the inside, but also I am sitting higher than Russ sits, so it's kind of ruining a little bit of my vision above, and I'm just not used to it. It's like putting on a full face helmet for the first time. You feel like your vision is slightly restricted, when in reality it's not really, it's just that you're not used to it. In terms of ride quality, we're just pootling through a village now, and it's actually not too bad. I wouldn't say it's really any worse than an M2 competition with a stock setup. Maybe a little bit stiffer. The whole car feels a bit stiffer, but hopefully we'll get onto that a bit more in a minute. First thing to talk about is the full Acura exhaust system. So there's no OPFs in this particular car, they've all been taken out. And when you're in efficiency like we are now, well, you can hardly hear it. There's no droning or anything. When you put it into Sport Plus, you can hear a lot. There are all sorts of cracks and pops going on the overrun. When you put your foot down, I mean, wow. Hopefully the GoPro is picking that up. It's definitely a bit rawer than even my M2 competition, which has bits and pieces of the Remus exhaust system on it. Now I'm in Sport Plus, and I'm now in MDM as well, so that allows a bit of slip. We're not going to go crazy because this is a very expensive car. It's not my car, but let's push it a little bit along this lovely bit of wiggly road that is now unfortunately a 40 limit for most of it. We should be able to load it up through some of these corners. So yeah, when you hit sort of drain covers and stuff, it definitely feels stiffer than my car. But the initial turning, even at these slow speeds where I'm just not loading it up at all, I mean, it just feels great. It really does feel massively planted. When you put your foot down, well, aside from that sound, you can definitely feel the increased torque and power over my stock car. And I've got the e-Venturi intake as well, which does add 15-20 horsepower and makes that initial pickup feel really good. But this car, obviously with a stage 2, well, that's third gear, you put your foot down and oh wow, yeah, serious go. This is actually on completely stock small brakes, so the same brakes essentially that I have on my M2 competition, on totally stock pads as well. Russ puts in, I think, 29s for when he goes onto track and stuff, but on the road, to stop the squealing, he just runs totally stock pads. But yeah, let's just slow it down into second. I mean, it's a little bit much, but obviously you can back that down depending on what mode you're in. Well, that was second gear, foot on the floor, and it just hooks up really well and fires the car forward. It feels very solid, very planted on the rear end. Again, I'm not pushing this car hard. I'm talking about 4 or 5 tenths here, so it's very hard to tell. But yeah, let's just have a little bit of fun through these twisties. That sound, and into second because I can. Listen to that. Oh, it's very firm. It definitely feels almost like a completely different chassis to my car. My car tends to float over the road, but not in a nice, smooth way, but it seems to be sitting on top of the road surface and does a good job. But this one feels really planted down. Oh, yes. I know those pops also a bit childish, but they do add a bit of drama, especially compared to a lot of the stuff that I get my hands on these days, all the really modern stuff. It's all so quiet, so this is actually quite refreshing. Oh, wow, yeah. Okay, you join me about 20 minutes later. I've really struggled to find some decent roads. There seems to be loads of traffic, loads of potholes, roads that used to be 60 and now 40, roadworks, you name it. I've really had bad luck in the time of having this car. But I'm back on a familiar dual carriageway now, so we can push it a tiny little bit and hopefully feel what it's like. I mean, the pickup, the power delivery, the way it delivers the power to the ground as well, as we talked about earlier on, is just sublime. It really is. The negatives of having this slightly sharper, more raw setup is you do feel more underneath you. You feel every single joint in the road, every single cat's eye in the road. Also, because of the top mounts, front suspension especially, you get a bit more sound through the car, so you hear a few more vibrations. You also get more tyre roar and stuff, because the connection between the tyre and the car is more solid essentially, so you've got less of that dampener which a normal road car always has. Even something like an M2 competition, or even Ferraris and McLarens and stuff, in their road setup, they've obviously designed them so that they're very easy to live with and you feel as little of those vibrations and sounds as possible. But a race car is totally opposite to that. Everything is really firmly set up and there's no creature comforts, and this kind of sits in between the two. But these seats, I have to say, as we talked about when I first jumped in this car, they are very comfortable. And I think buckets, although they never look like they should be comfortable, because they keep you in place, they're very firm and supportive, you actually end up feeling very comfortable in them over a long period of time, most of the time. But everything else, yeah, it's great. I'd love to take this car out on track, obviously, but I'd like to take it somewhere I can actually drive it, because yeah, today has been a bit of a letdown. I know a lot of YouTubers literally drive around the block when they get cars, and I like to take mine to somewhere where they deserve, because this does feel a bit like a cage animal on these local sort of 40-50 roads. But I'm really impressed with it, and really impressed with Russ and the Swift performance setup. I'm really lucky that they're super close, and I'm really lucky that I bumped into them all those months ago, and they're now fitting brake pads to my car. That's a bit of a bonus, isn't it? I get to take this out whilst Russ sorts the brakes out on my G80. But hopefully we'll be at a track day together sometime and I can jump in this for a couple of laps, because I think it really would feel epic on track, and it really has got me thinking about my M2, because I've been sitting on the fence lately as to whether I play around with it more and turn it into more of a track tool like this, or if I leave it how it is and even get rid of it, because values at the moment, especially for manual M2 competitions, are really, really good. I'm not made of money, but I have been considering getting rid of it, so we'll have to see. The pickup in second and third gear in this thing is just unreal, which would make it really good on track again. It really is just instant third gear. It's lovely, but it's a really nice curve. It doesn't feel like it's got too much torque or too much power. It just feels very nice and linear. and wants to rev all the way out as well, whereas the stock M2 competition, once you get above about 5.750, it makes you feel like you need to change gear because it kind of flattens out, runs out of torque and power up there, whereas this setup, well, all the way, yes, thumbs up from me, Russ. I really like this car. Guys, I'm going to end this video here. Stay tuned for more content. Obviously, I'm going to update you on my brand new blue stuff brake pads that are in the G80. I'm going to give it a couple of hundred of running in miles with those pads. So you've got to kind of bed them in essentially. And once they're bedded in, I'll report back, and I'll be taking that car back out on track in the next couple of months, so I'll report back on them on track as well. Make sure you do check out Swift Performance. There'll be a link in the description below, their website and obviously their Instagram and stuff, where you can see plenty of pictures of this and Russ's other cars, because he has got some really nice other cars, including that E46 M3, the green one that was in the background of some of the shots. So I'll hopefully get a chance to take that out one day, maybe on track, or at least just do a walk around video of something on it, because that is a very special car, as this one is. Until the next time, I will see you then. Let's just do one more. I feel like I'm 18 again, but this car's just